Welcome to the Butcher Block Horror Podcast, where we exhume horror movies from the past and cut into what makes them so delectable. I'm Kane.
I'm JD.
And I'm Joe.
And today we're going to be throwing Something Wicked This Way Comes onto the slab and carving up our favorite portions to force feed to you, our unwitting victims.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
If you enjoy the taste of these feasts of fright, then give us a like and subscribe, being sure to click on the bell. Also, you should take a look at our website, WeGiveYouBrainworms.com. This will allow you to take a look at some of the other stuff we're working on. And I think it's fair to point out that this is the third episode of the Brainworms Butcher Block.
The meld.
Meld, yes.
We have melded.
Where
Halloween
Brainworms
Spookiness.
reads some stuff, and then we watch the movie based off of the stuff that Brainworms has read.
And we do this in our fondness of the Halloween season.
It is because we like the spooky times.
We enjoy it.
I'm quite happy that October's here. It doesn't feel very October.
No, what does it feel like?
It feels like the middle of a global pandemic.
Yeah. There's nice chill in the air, though.
Yes.
Well, at least the plague and the pestilence sort of resembles the Halloween season a bit, you know, just the fearful, frightful thing that, I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch.
Can't really go to a haunted house or anywhere where other people are. But
I'm terrified that trick-or-treating is going to have to be canceled, so I'm going to have to make my daughter walk down to the corner, and then I'm going to have to change costumes, and then have her come back to my house, and then make her leave again, and then change costumes.
Just send her to your own home on repeat, you know? Like
That's what I was just describing.
Oh, well.
Yeah, like I was going to send her to the corner, and then I was going to change costumes, and she was going to come back, and I was going to... But, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
You do?
Knowing what I know about your child, she'll probably say that's bullshit and I'm not doing it.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, that seems fair. She does like calling bullshit.
But your heart's in the right place, and I think she'd appreciate it.
We'll see. I might just throw candy at her.
Yeah.
Haven't decided yet.
Are you going to give her a heads up that it's coming? Or are you
No,
just
of
gonna
course
throw
not.
It?
I'm just
okay.
Just
like,
throughout
throw
the
it.
day, like I think Friday and Saturday of Devil's Night and Halloween, I think I'm just going to randomly throw candies at my child and just be like, treat!
If you
she'll
recall
appreciate
from
that.
last week's episode, there's a popular Halloween tradition of throwing vegetables at people on Halloween.
Yeah, that's not going to fly, Joe.
I always thought that was reserved for bad comedy. You throw like vegetables.
Or just bad entertainment in general.
Okay, bad entertainment.
Yeah,
it's like a blanket response to anything that is meant to be entertaining but fails.
Yeah, you bring rotten fruit to a theater production so that you can pelt them with it if the show is terrible.
Gotcha.
That was us, right? That wasn't a strange dream I had where we talked about Cabbage Night for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, we talked about Cabbage Night and how it's only called that in fucking Vermont.
Right.
The whitest state in the country.
Speaking of Vermont, Something Wicked This Way Comes was actually shot in Vermont. It was shot between Vermont and the Walt Disney Studio in Burbank, California. It's a little detail.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, speaking of that, since we're talking about Something Wicked This Way Comes, why don't you give us a synopsis overview?
You know, originally, this came from the Ray Bradbury novel, but even prior to that, he wrote what was referred to as an 80-page treatment. So basically a short story titled Dark Carnival. And it was actually meant to be directed by Gene Kelly, the fucking awesome tap dancer. Yeah, Gene Kelly. I guess Peter Douglas met him in a bookstore in like 1975, and I don't know, somehow it got to that, but then I guess it didn't end up working out quite in that way. Things kind of didn't quite work as expected. Gene Kelly wasn't able to acquire the funds needed to get the ball rolling, and then Ray Bradbury sort of rewrote the story, Dark Carnival, and kind of transformed it into Something Wicked This Way Comes.
What's the story of Something Wicked This Way Comes? Like,
man, it was kind of a weird, it narrated by a very creamy voice, just kind of telling this tale of like people. And I don't know, how would you all interpret that?
A small, white bread town in the 60s, early 60s or late 50s.
The whitest of towns.
Is visited by a dark carnival.
Right.
Where the
like
beings that run this
clown
carnival,
posse?
shut up. You never, ever, ever mention that name again during this podcast.
No.
Wait, whose name was mentioned?
We're not going to say it again, JD. I know your game, man.
But if you say it 3 times, that character will appear.
That's not how
In your house.
All right.
In your
so-
house.
Perform
In your
a private
bathroom mirror.
concert just for you. Yes.
But regardless, so the story is, I feel it's the story of like a town, kind of full of miserable people.
Visited by
nobody's happy.
a certain Mr.
And
Dark.
it's visited by a dark carnival that offers up your heart's desire, but their real goal is to feast on your pain and your suffering.
Okay.
That's why they come.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, there was...
That's the story I got.
Sure. No, you're spot on.
Yeah, it seemed like, there was some wish granting involved, and that the character Mr. Dark was sort of like almost a demonic figure that could grant your wishes, but then there would be this price to be paid, sort of like, the devil at the crossroads type of deal.
Yep.
I will tell you this much. The film had a $19 million budget, and it barely grossed over $8 million in return. And that's kind of a big hit, to spend that kind of money and have that little return.
Well, I mean, it was dark as fuck for a Disney movie. Their main audience for that film probably wasn't allowed to watch
it was
Right.
very creepy, and it was also very horny.
Oh, yeah, there was some...
It was
Like I would
definitely
argue
horny.
that kids can handle darker shit than maybe adults or ratings boards assume that they can.
But they shouldn't have to handle that level of horniness.
No.
It's not for them.
See, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that violence, death, and destruction, like that stuff, like those darker elements are okay. But then, the barber just wanting to get laid is like a bad element for
Right.
kids to
Mr.
see.
Holloway had that attitude.
Well,
that's
I'm
just-
not even
that's
talking
just
about
me.
like development. It was upsetting for me to see, and I just I don't feel like children should be subjected to that.
to just a bunch of horny dudes.
Horny old white dudes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
theme.
But I mean, I feel like the barber was real horny. I felt
Mr.
like,
Holloway was pretty horny.
Yeah, but I think some of that was us. Like
Just
when we were watching
projecting.
the movie, we projected that onto Mr. Holloway. I don't really think that that's what was going on.
Sure.
And I think we'll talk about this later. I think right now we should get to kind of the meat of the movie. So like the director and
So
that
yeah,
kind of
Something
stuff.
Wicked This Way Comes was released in the United States in 1983. It was directed by Jack Clayton, born 1921. He's a British director and producer known for bringing various literary works to the silver screen. So, it would make sense that he would take, Ray Bradbury's story and sort of turn it into a movie. He rose to prominence as a director and an Oscar winner with his film debut, which was a movie called Room at the Top, and came out in 1959. And that was followed by a horror film in 1961 called The Innocents.
Oh, okay.
I believe that was adapted to film from a James Henry story called The Turn of the Screw. So
Yeah.
and I've never read that, so I'm not.
It's fucking awesome. And
Okay.
to note, the guy that did the Haunting of Hill House show on Netflix is doing basically a turn of the screw.
Nice. That'll be cool. I liked Haunting
Yeah.
Hill House pretty well.
Did I say that author's name is Henry James or James Henry? I might have flipped it. But anyway, it's Henry James.
Cool.
So anyway, he was offered to direct the movie. I'm referring to Jack Clayton again. The movie Alien, the one starring Sigourney Weaver.
What?
Really?
And it didn't work out. But I think that's probably a good thing because Ridley Scott did a pretty solid job with that one. But I think that kind of shows how talented that Jack Clayton is, that they would offer him that, because that's a substantial horror film. And sci-fi too, it's pretty awesome. So
yeah,
sure.
but real quick, so the Netflix Haunting of Hill House second season is going to be The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Nice.
And it was created by Mike Flanagan, who also did Dr. Sleep. He did that movie.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
But yeah, so continue.
Something Wicked This Way Comes was produced by Peter Douglas. That would be the son of Kirk Douglas.
Nice.
Yeah, he's an American American producer, born in 1955. And he has some Emmy Awards for his production work in television, something called Amos in 1984, and Inherit the Wind in 1988.
Nice.
He also has some motion picture cred with the sci-fi classic The Final Countdown in 1980.
Okay.
And he also acted in that. And he was the quartermaster. I don't know if anyone has seen The Final Countdown.
It's been a while.
Okay. Yeah, I feel, the same about that. I saw it and I can't remember a thing about it. So obviously he's also known for Something Wicked This Way Comes. But he also produced a comedy from 1985 called Fletch, starring Chevy Chase.
Okay.
I know about Fletch.
And he also produced its sequel in 89, Fletch 2.
Not as familiar about the second one, but I do remember the first one.
Sure. Yeah. Chevy Chase. So,
yep.
Douglas has a Saturn Award for Best Fantasy Film with Something Wicked This Way Comes, which was written, the story by Ray Bradbury. He's an Illinois native, Waukegan, Illinois, born 1920. And Ray Bradbury is known for Fahrenheit 451, The Martian Chronicles, The Illustrated Man, which, to take a look at Something Wicked This Way Comes, I believe the character Mr. Dark kind of has aspects of The Illustrated Man.
Yeah, sure.
Moving tattoos that kind of...
Well, in the book, there's a lot more emphasis placed on his tattoos. Than there was in the movie.
Ray Bradbury also known for being a dead racist.
Yep, he's definitely dead, and he was definitely a racist, kind of a shitbag.
Yep.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He sounds like a real asshole.
It's kind of sad. Because
it's
he's
definitely a little upsetting.
So yeah, I Sing, The Body Electric. He also wrote some screenplays and television scripts, Moby Dick, and It Came from Outer Space.
Nice.
Yeah. So the film, shall we talk about the cast a bit?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's jump on that.
Yeah. Shall we? All right. So Jason Robards, he was Charles Holloway. That was the elderly dad with the bum ticker.
Mm-hmm.
And the delightfully young wife in comparison?
Delightfully young,
in comparison,
she was a spry vixen, and in comparison to his, elderly exterior, but...
he had a young heart.
Well, he didn't have a young heart. He had a bum heart. His heart was
a ticker.
Yeah, that thing was a worn out engine, man. He had like knocks and ticks and all sorts of shit wrong with it. So Jason Robards, we're talking about, he was born 1922 in Chicago, Illinois. So again, talking about my people. And he's has experience on stage and film, TV. He holds a Tony Award, 2 Academy Awards, and an Emmy Award. And he's one of 24 Triple Crown Acting Award recipients. Anyone that wins 3, you know how that works, right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So that's kind of cool. And he's known for a role in All the President's Men. And he won an Academy Award for that, and also a film called Julia. And he played, in a movie that I liked in the late 90s, he played the character Earl Partridge in Magnolia.
Right.
Yep. So we'll go ahead and talk about the Dark Man, played by Jonathan Pryce, born in 1947 in Carmel, Flintshire, Wales.
He was good.
Yeah.
In that role.
And
yeah, he was fantastic. I enjoyed him a lot.
he fulfilled that role solidly of the Dark Man. I very commendable on that. I recognized him, though, unfortunately, to my dismay, as the High Sparrow in the Game of Thrones, which made me instantly hate him, because I hated the High Sparrow. He did Cersei Lannister so dirty that it just made me fucking hate him. And I know Cersei was terrible and did a lot of people dirty, but I liked her. I thought she was really cool, and he fucked her over hard, so fuck that guy.
He was also the governor in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
We're gonna get Game of Thrones
He's
fans
been a lot
in
of
the comment section.
Yeah,
He was also in the
yeah.
film,
the 1985 movie Brazil. That I
Great
believe
movie.
that was
Great
David
movie.
Lynch, right? David Lynch.
No,
No? Oh, Terry. I'm sorry.
Terry Gilliam.
Terry Gilliam's. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Brazil. And De Niro was also in that film, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
It's good times. I mean, he's a pretty celebrated actor.
John Price?
He's pretty good.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go ahead and talk about Diane Ladd. She was Mrs. Nightshade, and she was born in 1935, Mississippi. You know, where the fiddle, the banjos go da da ding dong ding dong ding dong ding. And
Yeah, and I know that you guys don't know anything about it, and I'm just going to keep bringing it up until one of you assholes watch it, but Price was also in The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Baron von Munchausen.
I'm sure I'll keep making a note to watch it and not watching it forever. So
yeah, Diane Ladd was best known for a movie called Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, 1974. She won a BAFTA award for that, and she won Academy nominations for Wild at Heart and Rambling Rose, if anyone is familiar with those. She also had film appearances in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, if anyone... Yeah, I'm sure we've all seen that.
Yeah.
Pretty classic, right?
I've definitely
it's on
seen
the
it.
television every year 7,000 times.
Yeah, was it Shitters Clogged?
She was also in a movie called Ghosts of Mississippi, and then a film called Primary Colors, which, if you didn't know, you could mix those colors together to make all other colors.
Good to know. This is a very educational podcast.
It's this episode's real educational.
She was also in some sack of shit called 28 Days. Not to be confused with 28 Days Later, which kind of, gets my motor running, but
yeah, it's a good movie.
This 28 Days starred, I believe it was Sandra Bullock, and that
which I'd prefer we don't speak ill of Sandy Bullock because she is America's sweetheart.
Fair enough. I mean,
is there a thing there? Like, do you Jews just genuinely have that much love for Sandra Bullock?
I have
Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant. To be fair, he loves Hugh Grant too.
Mm-hmm.
You
look, man. Sandy
Hugh
Bullock
Grant
is America's
so hard.
sweetheart, and I adore her. All right.
I don't have a problem with
She's
Sandra Bullock, but
she's like the cool older
Hugh
sister that would like sneak you cigarettes. Like that's
is
she's
this
like
just
the
version
the cool...
of her that you've invented over the decades?
Of
this
course,
is a fabrication.
Okay, I wasn't.
I've
sure.
obviously never hung out
like
with
she
Sandra
was
Bullock.
like very on Twitter, and there was something I wasn't aware of. Like
this is mental illness at work.
No, I mean there's a lot of elements that I share with mental illness,
but this is unrelated.
my adoration of Sandy Bullock is not a symptom of that, dude. I mean, fucking Demolition Man, Speed.
None of those are
Magic,
good films.
like
Do you follow Sandra Bullock on Instagram or Facebook?
I don't.
Okay.
Or Twitter.
Just
because
checking.
I don't.
Do you have you ever tweeted at her or Hugh Grant?
No, I haven't.
I'm just fucking with you.
I would like to remind you that the only Hugh Grant film that I've ever seen
is Lair of the White Worm.
Is Lair of the White Worm.
Same.
And what is quickly becoming a recurring segment for this show, you should tweet at Sandra Bullock and tell her how you feel.
No. Like I'm gonna be like, hey, you're like the big sister that I always want. No,
I talked about you on my podcast.
I have a big sister, and I'm not sure that she follows me on any social media, but I don't think that she would be stoked to be like, hey, why is he calling Sandra Bullock the sister he always wanted? And then that would be making family gatherings more awkward than they already will be. You know what? Can we just move on?
But here, are you willing to
We
sacrifice
might as well.
that relationship
We might
for
as
your
well
Sandra
move on.
Bullock dreams to become real?
No, let's just do this. Let's just move on.
Tweet at Sandra Bullock.
Way to wrangle that back in, Kane. Get us on task. Get us on task. Okay, so
yeah, I'm gonna edit this episode so I could delete that entire conversation. I just want you to know.
You are. That stays in. We're gonna have a conversation about that off the air.
And that leads us straight into Royal Dano as Tom Fury.
Who was great. He
was
really
very good.
was.
Yeah, he did a
I wish there
bang-up
was
job.
more of him.
American
I do too.
actor, born 1920. Wait, hold on. When you say more of him, do you wish that he was a larger man? Is that what you mean?
No. I just wish he had more scenes in the film.
So not more of him to love?
No, there was the right amount, I feel.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so yeah, Dano is born 1922, an American actor, New York City. That's where he's from. So yeah, big old career in film, spanning 46 years. Mostly best known for playing like cowboys and villains and shit like that. And he did have a role at some point playing Abraham Lincoln. Yeah. So I saw a huge daunting list of all of his television work that just seemed like the most mundane thing I could do was to regurgitate any of that.
Yeah, we're good. We know
if there were any
he's
like
got
notable
a
ones,
storied-
maybe point those
yeah.
out.
But I will say this. I took a quick gander at the list of the films he was involved in, and my eyes just pivoted straight to one of the worst fucking horror films / any genre's films of all time, which would be House 2. If any of our listeners have ever seen House 2...
I've never seen House 2.
Oh my goodness.
Is it bad?
It's known to be one of the worst films of all time.
No,
House 2. Yeah, it's
not great.
Yeah, it's unfathomably
It's
horrible.
All over the fucking place. It's just kind of dumb.
So
I think the original House,
it's decent.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean it's just, but yeah, House 2 is like, whoa.
It's a shit show.
Whoa.
It's pretty bad.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I'm looking at the list of Dano's films, and my eyes then dropped down to Ghoulies 2. He was in Ghoulies 2.
Good movie.
Yeah, exactly. He was also in Space Invaders. And then, I just popped into my head why David Lynch popped into my mind earlier. Dano was in Twin Peaks.
Nice.
Yep. Judge
I am
Clinton
very fond of Twin
Sternwood,
Peaks.
if you remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, that's who he was.
Cool.
And so yeah, from Dano, then we go to Vidal Peterson, who was Will Holloway, born 1968, California, under the name Vidal Palacios. So Peterson, he must have changed his name. And he was known for some work in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, obviously, Something Wicked This Way Comes, and then something called The Thornbirds.
Never heard of that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Unknown to me until just now. He played the character Adam in Beverly Hills 90210.
Okay.
Kind of makes me dislike him,
All
just
right.
knowing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? He worked through a handful of episodes of the Mork and Mindy Show, which was one of, Robin Williams' early TV roles. He was Mork of the Mork and Mindy Show. Yeah, then we go to Sean Carlson. He was Jim Nightshade. And he was in a movie called Funhouse that came out in 1981.
Okay.
And a movie called Cry for the Strangers, which I have no idea what that is. Then we have Mary Grace Canfield as Miss Foley. She was born in 1924, Rochester, New York. She was known for her role in Green Acres. She did 40 episodes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a handy woman on that show. I believe her name was Ralph Monroe. She was also in The Best of Broadway and Pollyanna. And then there was Richard Davalos as Mr. Corsetti. He was born 1930 in the Bronx, New York. Best known for East of Eden in 1955. And he also played a role on the TV show Kelly's Heroes. And he also had a small role in the movie Cool Hand Luke.
Nice.
And then there was Jake Dangle, and he played Mr. Tetley.
That was the rich guy, right? Or the guy that wanted to be rich?
I believe so, yep. Yeah. He was known for something called Ironweed. Sounds strong. And he was also in Star Trek Next Generation, 1987.
Nice.
Yeah. He had a role in something called Player of the Roller Boys in 1990.
Interesting.
Totally unfamiliar with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I'm
probably a
intrigued
reason.
by the title.
Because it's like dog shit.
It's just, my guess is that it probably wasn't good enough to land on any
It was
lists of movies that were must see for me.
A dog shit flavored everlasting gobstopper.
It's possible. It's possible.
So anyway, Jack Dobson, he was Mr. Douglas, or Dr. Douglas, rather.
Okay.
He was born in Pittsburgh, 1931, best known for playing Howard Sprague in The Andy Griffith Show.
You know, I watched that show when I was a kid, and yeah, and honestly, I don't think I ever disliked it, but
It was just
I wasn't really
there.
stoked
It was
about
just
it either.
wallpaper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Is in the background. So yeah, Bruce M. Fisher as Mr. Cougar, born 1936 in Greensboro, North Carolina. And
that was the guy that got turned into a little kid so that he could go make that lady blind.
Right, which is a cruel thing to do.
It's true.
Yeah.
He was known for a role in Escape from Alcatraz in 1979.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then before that, he was also known in The Outlaw Josie Wales.
Okay.
Thanks. Good movie.
And then something else called Wizards and Warriors, which sounds really interesting.
I mean, it does. It does,
it
but
sounds
then it
interesting.
doesn't.
Right. It's an intriguing title, but then, it's like kind of something you'd hope you'd never see on accident.
Right.
So back to Something Wicked This Way Comes. There's Ellen Gear as Mrs. Holloway, born 1941 in New York City, daughter of Will Gear and Herta Ware. And she had her debut in Richard Lester's Petunia.
Okay.
Or Petulia. Best known in the cult classic Harold and Maude. And in that film, she was Harold's third and final date. And then, the lovely Pam Grier.
Fucking amazing.
Right. Yeah, and she was the Dust Witch, born 1949 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Just an amazing actress. She's a major African-American star in the 1970s and forward. She's known for The Big Dollhouse in 1971, The Birdcage in 1972, Foxy Brown in 1974, and Sheba Baby in 1975. And this is just a small sample size of her work. But yeah, she did quite a bit. She was also in the movie Blackula, 1972. And in the sequel was Scream, Blackula Scream, 1973. Yep. And she was also a pretty regular character on Miami Vice. And she basically kicked all major forms of ass along the way. She was also along her way of kicking ass, she kicked ass alongside Steven Seagal in Above the Law,
right?
Which a lot of ass kicking happened in that movie. And then she was in Jackie Brown, the Tarantino film, 1997.
Yep.
She was in Tim Burton's Mars Attacks.
Yep.
Nice. A film called Jawbreaker. And then she was in John Carpenter's The Ghosts of Mars. And she had a health scare. In 1988, she was actually diagnosed with the Big C and given 18 months to live. So,
and she
fortunately,
was like, fuck you and fuck that, and she beat it.
Yeah, just made short work of that and got back on her feet. And now, here, look at her today. She's still around and still kicking ass.
Yep.
Nice.
So yeah, that pretty much is the cast and everybody associated with the making of the film.
What about the effects team?
Well, that's the thing. So in all of my research, it was very difficult to make conclusions on who was actually responsible. There weren't any individuals listed with that, so I was kind of surprised, kind of shocked.
I mean, there was a lot of cool shit that happened. It saddens me that we weren't able to find out who did that cool shit.
Yeah.
Like the aging and whatnot of Mr. Dark at the end is pretty fucking cool.
Well, and yeah, I think a lot of the artists that worked on that were just through
Walt
production
Disney Pictures.
studios.
Yeah.
Exactly. Walt Disney Pictures. A lot of those artists went uncredited.
Disney has a history about being bad at crediting animators.
Yeah, so...
Yep,
and that's
so fuck you, Disney.
Yeah, they did not give credit where credit was due, unfortunately, so I cannot actually speak on any one of those fine individuals and their abilities, but they did some really
We saw it, and we saw that it was good. It just sucks we can't name you.
Yeah, we would like to name you, but yeah, if there's some bit of information out there and our listeners know of it, drop that in the comments section. Share away.
Yeah, drop us a line if you know more about that.
Exactly. So yeah.
And then the music, that shit was good.
Yeah, the music was
The
very
score was really well done.
Yep.
The score was done by James Horner. He was born in 1953 in LA.
Okay.
His career is pretty fucking big. You know, his first credit was in a Roger Corman flick in The Battle Beyond the Stars.
Ooh, that sounds far.
But then he also did the score for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Okay, cool.
And that's what kind of got him into doing A-list movies.
Excellent.
But I mean, he did the movie for Crawl. He did the music for Cocoon, Aliens, Willow. Like, he did a shit ton of really dope stuff.
Oh, no shit. That's cool.
He was in Willow.
But yeah, I mean, it was all like orchestral scores, and he did a fabulous fucking job at it, you know?
Nice. Yeah, the music was super good.
All right. Well, I guess at this point, we can move on to talking about personal experiences with the movie. So
yeah, let's do it.
We'll start with you, Joe.
I didn't remember watching this movie, but as we were watching it, I started having like, oh yeah, I remember this. So at some point as a child, I saw this, and it was just hidden in the back of my child mind because there was so much just visually distinctive shit happening in this movie. Again, I was kind of troubled by the amount of horniness, just horny old men that they threw into what was meant to be a children's movie.
Right.
Dare we call them horny, distinguished men?
I don't think that's necessary. We could just call them horny old men.
But I think their horniness is what distinguished them from... No, I don't know. I'm just making shit up. Sorry to bulldoze your train of thought.
No, you're fine. And even like the bit where the main character kids are peeking through the hole in the tent at the dancing ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Not... Especially for a film with Walt Disney's name on it. Not something you would expect.
It's true. It really isn't.
Yeah.
And that's when the barber gets his transformation to join the carnival.
It's true.
And so I guess, does that cover your personal experience with the movie? Did you have anything that kind of jumped out at you that you'd like to engage the listeners on? Or
I would
JD?
again like to underline Ray Bradbury being a dead racist.
Wait, that is now double underlined.
But no, I do want to say, like, especially because the last couple movies we've watched have been kind of not so great. So it was nice to enjoy a movie that we watched for this podcast.
Most definitely.
Yeah. It was a good flick.
Yeah, and I really like the animation over film style of special effects that we're never going to see again because it's all computers now.
Yep.
Like the eerie fog lightning that traveled from the rolling clouds. That was fun.
Yeah, it was super good.
And then the Dust Witch sending out her tendrils of like green essence through the world. That was good shit.
And then near the end, when the life was absolutely sucked and electrocuted out of the Mr. Dark.
That was cool.
And that was a cool scene where, it's just, you see his flesh shriveling, tightening against his skeleton and just turning into, a creepy, gnarly looking little prosthetic guy in a costume or something.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, JD, want to talk about your personal experience with the film?
I do. This was my first experience with this film.
Man, you missed it.
I did. I missed it. I would have preferred to have viewed that through my child eyes and processed that through my child brain, because that would have thrown me through a loop, I believe.
Yeah.
And, although I'm a fan of gore, and as you well know, this film has no gratuitous gore, almost none, very, very little. very little bloodshed. There were some very hairy, large tarantulas involved, which was a fun treat for a few moments.
There was the guillotine.
Those were live spiders, by the way.
Yep, absolutely.
Which is pretty wild to do. Yep. And there was a moment where Mr. Dark crushes Mr. Holloway's hand to the point where bones break and the flesh ruptures into this gaping wound, which looked, was believable. It had a decent level of special effect to it, but nothing very gory or over the top. No blood squirts or fake blood even to speak of. And, but it was still overall a pretty entertaining film, pretty fun. Just a good, positive overall experience, and I'd recommend the film, especially for anyone with any listeners that have kids. I would say maybe wait for them to grow up just a little bit more, and then I don't know what age group to recommend that for, but maybe
I think some of that stuff is not going to be picked up by kids.
Sure.
Because I'll be honest, when I was a kid, I didn't. That shit didn't flow. I didn't.
That makes sense.
And did you have anything that you wanted to engage Joe and I with, or the listeners, anything like that?
I think that pretty well covers it for me. I think just, acknowledging, once again, there is a slight clash with my expectation, because I'm always trying to see, special effects in horror films. That's kind of what I gravitate to and what I pick out and what rests with me. And there wasn't a whole lot of that. There was some excellent green screen and some excellent animated effects, if you will.
Right.
But, other than that, a little bland in that department for my taste.
Right. That's understandable. Live spiders, definitely.
Yeah, live spiders are cool, and no one could really deny that, I don't think.
Well, don't worry, because we are at some point going to be covering the 7 Gates of Hell.
Nice.
Which means that we're going to get to see spiders again, and they're going to be doing a completely different thing.
Most definitely. So, how about Kane? How about what's your takeaway from all of this?
Well, I remember watching this movie when I was a kid, and it definitely scared the piss out of me when I was a kid. Mr. Dark was brooding, and
he was a good villain.
He covered the, Mr. Dark's temptation palace or whatever. Like that, he really tried to lure you in with his promises.
Right.
I actually thought until we did some research on this show, I thought that the kid that played Will Holloway was fucking Peter Billingsley from Ralphie from fucking A Christmas Story. Yeah. So my child's mind completely believed that Will Holloway was played by Peter Billingsley. So I had been convinced that this whole time, I even brought it up in conversation, that we were going to see a movie with Ralphie being attacked by tarantulas.
Yeah. And you actually scared half the crap out of me with that, because I thought that I had taken notes for the wrong movie at a certain point. I was just like, you had sold that statement to me, and I was like, whoa, how did I miss that?
But this was part of the Disney kind of scary movies that came out for a while.
Yeah.
Another one was The Watcher in the Woods.
Great movie.
That was definitely part of that era of stuff that was pretty scary for me. Ultimately, though, it holds a pretty high marks. It holds pretty high marks in my mind for being a really good scary movie.
Yeah.
Obviously watching it as an adult, it's not scary anymore, but it's still good. So
it's creepy.
So the thing, it is definitely creepy. Like the tattoo hand parts, I thought that was a pretty good. That was pretty fucking cool.
The palms of the hands, the perfect portraits done on the palms of the hands.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was real quick, I'm just throwing it out there, but Mr. Dark had hella geometric tattoos on his forearm, so he's well ahead of his time, because that's what all the coolest cats are putting out there today.
It's true. Now, the thing that I would like to put to you two gentlemen, and any listeners that want to engage on this, at the end of the movie,
yes,
the desiccated body of Mr. Dark is scooped up by one of the carnival workers and taken away.
Setting it up for a potential sequel?
I mean, I don't know that Disney really rock and rolled that way with those types of movies.
That element is actually from the book.
Right.
There's a character who's developed much more and the audience kind of cares about a little more, who is kind of set up as being super loyal to Dark. And when he carries him away into the hills, it's a lot more meaningful.
Yeah.
But being carried away like that, I don't think Mr. Dark was dead.
Sure, I could see that. He's clearly some kind of supernatural being.
Yeah.
He just changed forms.
Well, no, he was just fucked up. Like, he zigged when he should have zagged.
Form.
Right.
And got fucked up. And I think that, for me, that kind of, for me personally, that's like, the baddie never really goes away. Like he's still fucking out there. And, Will and Jim Nightshade, like they might be in their 60s the next time they meet Mr. Dark. But I think he's going to come back to that town. And I think he's going to fuck those kids up.
He definitely had an evil essence to him. And as he was do you remember the scene where he was granting wishes? It almost sounded like he was talking about the 7 deadly sins. So there was almost something kind of biblical and
there was
evil.
Definitely an allusion to the devil.
Does anyone know if Stephen King listed this story as an inspiration for Needful Things?
No. We'll look into that, and I would actually be down with doing Needful Things in the future.
Absolutely.
Because I just feel a lot of similarities there, and Stephen King is well known for borrowing elements from things he finds inspiring. So
right.
And one thing I may add about this film is that I admire all of the people of different shapes and sizes that were on screen. There was a large variety of people.
Sure.
I liked the fact that the carnies and the parade were terrifying.
Yeah.
They weren't just like, clowns and stuff that were, happy-go-lucky. Like, they were fucking scary creatures. And I think that was fun.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, and with that large budget, they sure did a hell of a job of wrangling all of those animals. And there were like elephants and camels and you name it. There was a parade. All
right. Well, I think that pretty much covers it unless you guys have something else to say.
I have one last parting bit of trivia, actually.
Okay.
Please add.
Because it's interesting because we were talking about it as we were watching the movie. Apparently, the child actors said later that those tarantulas irritated the absolute fuck out of their skin.
Well, of course they did.
With their
the reticulated hairs or whatever.
That's the ones, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
don't let child actors touch live tarantulas, I think is the moral of that.
I mean, it's best not to touch live tarantulas unless you're wearing gloves.
That's true.
That's good advice. Sound advice.
They're adorable. They're fun to look at, but honestly, it's not a good idea to get the hairs into your skin because they will irritate you.
No matter how soft they look, they're not.
They're not soft. Yeah. All right. Well, if you watch Something Wicked This Way Comes, or if you have watched it and somehow or another you stumbled upon this podcast and you're like, holy shit, I remember that movie, and you want to reconnect with some nostalgia, feel free to go to WeGiveYouBrainworms.com and drop us a line.
It's a good website.
Share your feelings. Your feelings.
If you've enjoyed the conversation, we've got more episodes coming of the October Spookiness, where Brainworms reads a book and then we watch the movie that's based off of that book.
We're ghosts.
As far as our YouTube is concerned, make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe,
and click the bell.
Click the little bell because it's going to let you know when we put out new material.
It's true.
Absolute truth.
Ken, were you about to tell our audience to clean their rooms?
And I would like you
clean your goddamn rooms, every last one of you.
JD said it perfectly. I don't need to tell you to clean your room because JD did it. But yeah, so we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Au revoir.